Hello. How is everybody? I can't believe that we're almost finished. It's Wednesday, which means we only have 2 days left if you don't count today. So today we're going to get started on the basket. So exciting. There's 2 different ways that you can do the basket. The first way is to fill it all in. Okay? I know, it's like a little bit of a lot. Actually, there's probably 3 or 4 ways that you could do it if you really wanted to. But I'm only going to show you 2. So the first way is to do a satin stitch every other one. So I'm just going to get the iPad here and I'm going to show you how I would do that so that you can fill them in and kind of make it look like a fake weaving almost, and then do a little outline. And then the other way is to just do the outline so that you, 1, don't have to fill the whole thing in, and 2, still have like the outline of a basket, if you know what I mean. So let's just grab this right here. You can see I finished this one last night. I've just got to cut all my loops. I did 3 times around, and then I also did these ones with satin stitch so you can see what they look like when they're stitched up. So let's just grab this. I've got to put it on an angle because of the light. Okay, so the first way is to fill them all in. And what I mean by fill them all in is pick one of the squares. It doesn't matter which square it is because you're going to do every other one. Almost like a, those black and white checkerboard floors, like that. So the first one that you pick will go our satin stitches up and down. And then all the ones diagonal to them are all going to be, yes, you'll cover these little fronds here up, and that's okay. So all of these here diagonal will be stitched with, oh, Jessie, a vertical satin stitch. And you can guess what the other ones are going to be stitched like, with a horizontal satin stitch. So this will give like a little fake weaving effect without having to physically weave it. Hello, George. I'm trying to just do these as quick as I possibly can, so that you can kind of see how they look without having to do it on your own hoops. So yeah, you will have to go around some of the things that we've done, but it shouldn't be too difficult. Okay, so what you're gonna get is a little basket that looks like this, completely filled in with your satin stitches, and we've already practiced them quite a bit, so you should be really good at them now, if I'm being honest. Okay, so that's kind of what it would look like, the bottom part. I'm a little bit obsessed with this already, I'm not gonna lie. And then the top part, I would probably choose like up and down because it's the shortest way, and then fill in all these little things like this. And that way, 1, you'll fill them all in. So there's the first way. It will all be with satin stitch. If you want to, then you can go back, and all of these black lines, you can do a stem stitch or a whipped back stitch. So that way you can actually get all of the, details of the lines in there a little bit more boldly. Now the other way would be to just do, you could use a whipped back stitch for this if you'd like to. So you can do your back stitch, yeah, and then whip all the lines going down, and then all the lines going horizontally, cancel. And then obviously do the bottom one too. You can also use a buttonhole stitch, which we have already done, haven't we? We used it for this flower right here. And you can kind of go like this. Oops. Open layers. Let's just add a layer. Yeah, okay. Yeah. All the way over. So that'll be a straight one. 1, 2, 3, 4, straight. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You could probably get away with that. And then so on and so forth. Some of these will end up being just straight stitches though. So if you ever kind of run out of space or spaces to make your buttonhole stitches, you can always just do a straight stitch and that will complete the set. That's how I thought in the beginning that we would do it. And then again, just do a little outline on for the top of the basket. Okay? So I'm going to do the satin stitch way just because I feel like people are probably going to want to see that one the most to fill in the whole basket. I'm going to use anchor number 374. And let's just see what we can do. So I'll do a couple, and then I'm going to use, it's a lot of satin stitch, I'm not going to lie. I don't really want to do that much satin stitch, but it's going to look so nice. I'm going to do 4 strands. So we'll do a couple, like maybe 1 row of satin, and then I'll show you how to do the whipped back stitch as well. Just because then you can see both. We've already done the whipped back stitch, if you remember. Or you can do a little stem stitch to outline it too. This is also the time where if your lines are a little bit wonky, like mine are, you can also do weaving for this if you really want to. That's what I kind of thought that we could do, but you have to make the lines like really thick, meaning you'd have to do like 4 as one. It's not going to make any sense, you know, but normally you do like every other one with weaving, but you'd have to kind of count like 4 passes as one for it to have the same effect. And so I thought that's just going to be confusing. And confusing is not enough as it is, aren't I? Our neighbors behind us have chickens again. And I think there's some little things crawling around back there, if you know what I mean. Okay, so the easiest way to do this is to actually mark which ones you're going to do before you even get started. So if you want to make little X's, every other one, you can do that. That isn't one, so this is one. There is supposed to be a line right here, actually. So we've got a little X here, little X here, 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 and then we just get going. So again, if you're one of those people who needs the guidelines, then do your little guidelines in there and just choose which ones you're going to do sideways and which ones you're going to do up and down. But get creative with these. If you don't want to do a satin stitch for all of them, I totally understand, and I do not blame you. Oops. Of course, you could do weaving if you wanted to. Like I said, you probably want to do So normally with weaving, you do every other one. Under, over, just like the woven wagon wheels. I decided not to do anything too clever with these because, one, it's a beginner stitch along, and two, I think they'll look really nice folded. But I also appreciate that that's a lot of work. There's lots of ways you could fill these in though. I actually thought about doing like the background of this, the Plant Sanctuary one, where you do your lines and then you do little crosses over each one. I thought that might look really cool as well, but kind of like a choose your own adventure for the basket. So I've got 4 strands here, and we'll do every other one. If you do the satin stitch, I would probably do a mix of the thread saver and the regular, just because it will save you some thread and try and make sure that you don't have any knots on the back, because that wastes your thread as well. My video keeps saying video pause, but I am hoping that it's not actually affecting you. Because I can still see people joining and stuff, so I'm assuming that it's all fine. And then what we'll do after we do all the satin stitches is to do the outline. So I'll show you how to do the outline too, just so that you don't have any questions or anything like that. You can do a stem stitch outline, or you can do a whipped back stitch outline. People are saying it's fine on their end. Okay, good. Okay, good. I never know with this, you know. And last time the Sky people came, I made them put a little like extra router in, so that because I'm like quite far away from the internet, like it's in the front of the house and I'm in the back of the house, so I asked them to put another little router thing in, and I think you're supposed to pay for it, but they didn't make me pay for it. That was not very level, was it? It's okay though. So normally I would probably do all of one side, like all of one way, if you know what I mean. So I do all the vertical ones first, like I've marked the X's as the vertical ones, and then do all of the horizontal ones next. But I am trying to save thread, so we're just going to continue. We're just going to keep going. So yeah, I can't wait to see what you guys pick with this, which way you decide to go. It will be a little bit tricky, like I said, going around some of the things. But like if you do just an outline, you can still do your straight stitch outlines where, not straight stitch, your whipped back stitch, by just following the lines. So it shouldn't be too bad if you have a nice drawing to start with. And then if you really want to, you can do that extra outline of everything. I'm going to use a darker color for mine, so I'm going to use this one. So it looks like that in the end. So hopefully that looks nice. We'll see. But I'm just saying, everyone's fringe flowers from the other day, they look so good. People are finally cutting them. It looks so nice. Honestly, I look forward to this so much, seeing everyone's hoops and seeing how everyone does. And so many people are first-time stitchers this time. So I just can't stop thinking about how amazing everyone's doing. Okay, let's jump over here to this one. So we can do like 4 next to each other. And don't worry about the edges, because we're going to cover up the edges, not only with the stitches next to it, but also with the outline. So if you find that you're getting a little bit like not in the right place, we will cover them up. So have a little breath, you know? Take a breather. Don't get so stressed out. And we're going to cover up these little fronds here. They're very easy to put in and to stitch over the top of this. So don't worry about that either. Basically, just don't worry. Just have 0 worries. Oh, man. So many people saying that they need to get caught up. Don't worry about that. Remember, all the videos are saved, so just do them in your spare time, if that's ever a thing. Or even just working like 5 minutes in the morning or at the end of the day, you know, you can get a lot done. More than you'd think. Just do a little bit where you can. David took Miles out in the carrier this time. 0 worries is what I need in my life. Yes. Just don't worry about anything. Do you know what, though? I feel like the minute you do start worrying about things, you just worry about everything. Am I right? Like the minute that you start thinking, oh, what about this? Or what about that? Or, oh my gosh, what about this? Or what color should I use for that? Or not even just in embroidery, just like in life. Like the minute that you like get into that worry, all of a sudden it's just like, why did I do that? Because now I'm worried about literally everything, and I needn't be. I do not need to be worried. Just relax, guys. So yeah, don't worry. Tori talks. I know, it's crazy that like sometimes I'm just sat here and I'm thinking, what are you even talking about, woman? Honestly. Absolutely ridiculous, but it's the truth. And if these aren't 100% straight, it's totally fine too, because you're not even going to notice when it's all finished. It's going to look like a woven rattan basket. And if you know anything about those woven rattan basket things, God, they charge so much for them. And the weaving is always so wonky on them. I often think, you actually sold this for real money? Like, really? Seriously? What were those baskets that used to be really popular? Something in burger baskets. Long and burger baskets. Maybe. Long and burger baskets. And some of those were, ooh, sketchy. Okay. So remember my tip about 4 strands. When you got 4 strands and you take 2 out so that you have 4, pull your next one, make it the same length as the previous 2 strands that you've just pulled out. That way you can put your two strands together and make 4 strands the next time, because you will use more than this. So I've used 4 with 4 strands, and I've filled in 4. So if you think about that, multiply, you can figure out, you can hear the chickens. I can hear the chickens at least. Okay, so I've got the 2 from this one, and I can put it with the 2 from my first one, and now I've got 3 sets of 4 strands. Yeah, I used 1 set of 4 strands for the beginning part, and then I've got 4 strands here for the next part, and then I've got 4 strands here already made. So don't waste your thread, especially if you haven't got a lot. Okay, let's just finish this one here, and then we'll do a little bit of the outlining so you can kind of see how that is. For outlining, I would probably do, if you're only doing outline only, I'd probably do the whipped back stitch, because it comes out of the, pops off of the fabric a little bit more than a stem stitch would, and it has a more round look to it. Whereas stem stitch is still twisty, but it doesn't have that like perfectly round look to it. And I would do 6 strands and then whip it with 6 strands so that it has a really nice thick outline. So that's if you're only going to do an outline. If you're going to do the outline after you do all of your stem stitch, you could probably get away with just like 3 or 4 strands and after you do your satin stitch. You could probably get away with 3 or 4 strands and just do a stem stitch. It'll still look a little bit twisty, but it won't be so tedious, because remember, with whipped back stitch, you have to stitch your back stitch and then slide your needle under each stitch to make it whipped. And if you've got stitches all around it, every single time that you slide your needle under, you're going to have to avoid all of these stitches. So you can get the same similar-ish look with a stem stitch that you can with a whipped back stitch. It's just that it's way easier when you already have existing threads laid on your fabric. So hopefully that makes sense. When you're going around things, we want to make sure not to stitch into that color, but just up to the line. So sometimes that means going down the same holes that we went up. Right along that edge, because you don't want to go like into that flower. We want to make it look like this is like behind, you know? Haley says, I will do the stem stitch. I won't be able to stand working so hard to not snag something doing a whipped back stitch. 100%. Exactly. I think there's a really fine line between doing intricate stitches and enjoying them, and doing stitches and having to work so hard and therefore you hate them. So have a think about that when you're doing or picking your stitches too, because sometimes a really intricate stitch can be really, really lovely, and sometimes, like the whipped back stitch, you can get the same look with something way simpler and put in, 1/8 of the work, really. So work smarter, not harder, right? I'm just going to fill this in because I didn't actually do my leaves. Don't forget to do the whole square so it looks like this is right behind it. can't believe this is almost finished. Genuinely, cannot believe it. Okay, I'm just going to finish this 4 strands here, and then we'll do the outline. And then you can see how just this little section works, only because I'm not going to have enough time to do it all at once on the video. But at least you can see a little bit. Do you do monthly stitch-alongs, or are they every couple months? They're every couple months at the moment. Towards the end of last year, I was kind of having like 2 or 3 weeks in between each one. And I think some people thought it was a little much. So it just depends. Maybe I'll put a little, thank you, Jessica. She said, it looks so good. Thank you. So maybe I'll put a little poll in my stories, because I like to give at least 2 weeks for people to gather materials, especially if we have anything special that we're going to use, like sticky solvy or something like that, you know, just to make sure that people have time. If they want to order it from someplace, it will arrive in time. Or just if I want to use some kind of special material or special colors or anything like that. So yeah, at least 2 weeks, if not 3, you know, just because that way there's enough time for everyone to get everything. I don't know how this turned out so sideways right here. But that's okay. Do your grid lines. Never too many stitch-alongs. Well, I know that the problem is that a lot of people have said that they just can't afford the pattern, and honestly, I can't make the pattern any cheaper. Like, it's as cheap as I can possibly make it. Some of them are a little bit more expensive if I feel like they're more interesting stitches or more difficult. Then they will be a little bit more expensive. But $12.95 for 3 weeks of instruction. Each video is 30 to 40 minutes each. And you normally get 15 videos, if not more. Like, pretty good, you know? So I guess that's really the worry when people want to do the stitch-alongs, but then they say, oh, it's just the pattern's so expensive. And I'm like, I can't make it any cheaper, genuinely. Like, try my best here, guys, you know? So I'm just trying to use the rest of this 4 strands so that I can show you the outline. I'm not even doing thread saver anymore. Just like bam, bam, bam. I don't know why I make these so long. Well, I do know why, because I don't want to refill my thread, do I? But I love that it looks like a woven basket. Like, even just this little section here, like, it genuinely looks like a woven basket, I feel. And you can get the same effect by actually weaving, okay? So this is what I was saying about if you did a lot of threads, you know, all in a row to fill up the space. So you can almost imagine that this right here, instead of being satin stitch here and satin stitch on this side, that actually it was all one strand, okay? Meaning like all one stitch. So you'd start over here and go all the way over. But you'd go over these stitches, the vertical stitches, and then under, over, under, just like the woven wagon wheel. So yeah, I didn't want to waste all that thread because it is a waste of thread. it looks great, but you'd actually need a lot. You'd need more than one skein of the same color for sure. And yeah, this gives you a really nice practice of just regular old satin stitch. Hi, Sarah. So if you have to put your guidelines in, put your guidelines in. There is no shame in that at all. If you would like to put your guidelines in, don't ever feel like, oh, I can't draw them on there. Like, you're going to cover them up. So don't even worry. And if you're using the heat erasable friction pens, then they're going to erase anyways. So don't you think on it one bit. Okay, I'm going to stop there. And then let's just do a little bit of an outline on just these little ones here. Because I have a feeling that I'm escaping bedtime mayhem for a moment of calm. Ooh, I feel that. I feel that. Let's try 3 strands because I want it to be a little bit delicate and not so like, bam, there's an outline. You can also do 2 if you really wanted to, but I feel like 3 is a little bit more forgiving if you really have not done your squares perfect. So what I mean by that is that these outlines here, if you kind of put some a little bit too far and some a little bit not far enough, then a thicker line, meaning a thicker outline here, will cover that up a little bit. And you can get a thicker line by using more strands. So there's obviously a limit to that. You don't want to just like, bam, 6 strands everything, because you want to fill it in quicker because you'll have a thicker line. That's not what I mean. But sometimes you can get away with just adding 1 more strand and it'll just kind of solve your problems a little bit. Just threading my needle. This looks so good. Thank you. I feel like I need to make you guys like imagine it a little bit. You know what I mean? Like, use your imagination, because I hope you can tell what we're trying to achieve here with the fully satin stitched every other one, every other way. And that's why I was saying earlier that stitch direction is like so important, because sometimes I'll just look at something and I think, oh, it could have been so much better if you would have just changed the stitch a little bit, or if you would have just made the stitch direction sideways, so horizontal instead of up and down, vertical. So yeah, sometimes you just look at something and you go, oh man, they kind of missed it a little bit. Like, it still looks great, but like, it could have been so much better, you know? I do that with my own work too sometimes. Sometimes I'll stitch something and I'll go, that's getting snipped out because it needs to go the other way. And sometimes you don't see it until you stitch it and you can see it. So even though I show those tutorials on the iPad and I kind of draw out the lines for you and stuff, sometimes you don't really see it until you see it, if that makes any sense. Okay, so for this stem stitch outline, we want to do the whole line in one go. So we don't want to start here and kind of end there. We want to do this whole line until we can't stop anymore. What I mean by that is that unless you are interrupted by something like a stem or a leaf or a flower, you're going to go all the way to the end. So we're probably going to stop here, or we can slide our needle underneath because it's just a tiny little one, and start again. Or you can stop there and then fully start again. So I know it's a really weird place to start, but I'm going to start here. I've got 3 strands. I'm doing the stem stitch like I showed before. I like to do a big first one, or sometimes I do a half stitch first one, which I might have showed this time. And all we're going to do is add this in. So this basket has slightly a curve this way, so I'm going to put my loops on the hump. You could probably make these bigger if you want to, if you don't want to have a twisty look to them. So the smaller your stem stitch, the smaller stitches that you make your stem stitch, the more twisty it's going to look. And the longer you make them, the less twisty it's going to look. Let's just put this up like this. We're going to pay close attention to stay on the line. So I'm just going right between these vertical. I know it's a dark color, so you're not going to be able to see it so well, but hopefully you can see what I'm doing. We've already done the stem stitch, so I didn't really explain it. We've done these French flowers before, but you know what? Every single time I do them, I'm like, oh my God, they look so good. We've done the tassel flowers too. Whoa, that was a big stitch. Which are a little bit different, but have that same 3D effect. So nice. And this is another one of those that you're doing the same motion over and over and over. So you're gonna get this happen to your thread, and all you want to do is let that dangle every so often. So I told you about this earlier, I think on day one even, and then we talked about it yesterday as well, when we were talking about French knots. It's that same repetitious motion. Okay, so now I have to stop because I've run into my leaf. Now, actually, I've not done my leaf yet, so technically I can get away with just stitching on because I haven't stitched it yet, so I can just cover that up with my stitches. Do you know what I mean? And this is why I was saying earlier, make sure that the lines that you would like to stitch are the actual lines that you would like to stitch, meaning if you've done something like me at the bottom here with like a couple different lines, have a look at the pattern, heading back to the splash zone. Good luck, good luck. And I just saw your message, and yes, something on Friday, please. So let's slide this under like that. Then we can keep going. So now I am going to stop because I ran out of space there. Okay, so I've done just this one line. Let's go back and do one vertical line as well, and then you can kind of see what it looks like. And hopefully, little man will go to bed nicely tonight like he did last night. And then I've got to wash my hair, which is just a lovely, lovely time. I hate hair wash day. Is anyone else like that? I just hate it so much. Like, genuinely. I don't know what it is. I find it so annoying. And hopefully I can crack on with some stem stitch and satin stitch outline on this basket. Hi, Sylvia. Oh, Haley says she has short hair, so it's no big deal. You're so lucky. I feel like even though I'm like losing fistfuls of my hair at a time between washing it and brushing it, I still have so much hair. It's just, I've just had enough. Do you know what I mean? I always wanted straight hair when I was little. I always wanted just straight hair. That was like my dream, was to have hair that you could just wash it, let it air dry. You didn't have to do anything to it. You didn't have to, use like curly mousse or like special shampoo or like blow dry it or anything like that. You can just let it air dry. It would all be good. No. Yeah, Haley says yours probably got extra thick with pregnancy, so now it's adjusting back a bit, 100%. You should see like the globs of hair that I pull out, just like of the bathtub or like from the drain. It's absolutely ridiculous. And then by the time you brush it, there's more hair coming out. And then like to top it off, gosh, I'm so boring. But to top it off, they say like the worst thing that you can do for your hair is to put it in a ponytail. Guess who wears a ponytail all the time? Me. Because Miles just pulls it. So, I actually have Hannah coming to my house next Wednesday. And I don't know if I'm going to have her cut all my hair off or try and keep it long or what, but oh, I've pulled my own stitch out. But yeah, I don't know what I'm going to do. It'll be like my first. That was a very long stitch. I need to start making these the same length, Okay, so if you can bear it, I would totally say do the satin stitch and the stem stitch outline because this looks so good. For the vertical lines, the one in the middle that I'm doing right now is pretty much down the center, nearly. So you can get away with doing it on the left or the right. But the ones on the left side, you're going to put the loop on the left side, and the ones on the right side, you're going to put the loop on the right side. So hopefully that makes sense. Don't forget to do the bottom part all the way around, and then the outline of the top lip of your basket as well. So let's just zoom out just so that you can see what we've done. I still have to make dinner as well. Goodness gracious. Okay, so this is what we've got. I think it's going to look so nice, and I feel like the separation looks good too. So if you liked it without, you can do it without the outline, or you can just outline the bottom part of the basket and the top lip. So yep, I've already talked about the top lip at the beginning of the video. I don't think you were here for that though. I think I saw you come later. But that satin stitch will be a straight up and down satin stitch instead of a long side to side. Okay. I almost feel like maybe I shouldn't do the outline on these and just do the outline on the top and the bottom, because I liked how these went together like that. It almost looked like a weaving, Now I feel like I might take it out now that I see it. I don't know. We'll see. But again, don't worry. It'll all be fine. All right, that's it from me. Be sure to go to the Barmy Fox SAL hashtag. Have a little scroll. Do a couple likes. I'm telling you, it means so much. Not on my stuff, on other people's stuff, obviously, on other people's stitching and hoops. And tag me at the Barmy Fox in your progress photos so I can repost them. So yeah, I hope all that made sense. And I'll talk with you tomorrow. All right? Bye.